Hey everybody, hope you had a great trading day. We have a lot to get into, so let's get right into it. Stay to the end because we're going to go through the best performing sector and where the money is flowing to. But I really want to just talk about what's going on out there right now. So, you've been seeing a lot of people saying that we're going to just roll right over again. I'm not sure that's the case. I made my case for it yesterday, and we're going to cover that again and looking for an update at the end of this video. But you see this line right here? You flipped. So however you want to discuss it, you've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of lower highs. Today, you have a higher high. Okay, now it wasn't an emphatic move higher, but getting above that line, closing above the 21 day. And we all know that dojis are indecision bars, right? We're all aware of that at this point. I will link that video at the end as well on candlesticks. But we know what these reversal patterns look like, right? We've gone over them enough. So this looks to me like it may have had enough. Now, what I've been doing with this market is just been drilling down into much shorter time frames. Not like the 1 minutes, but just focusing on names like this. So in other words, focus on these hourly charts, and they're really telling you a story. Okay, you can just see how that first hour has just been dominating. And whenever that first hour dominates, you have follow through on the first hour, right? So we just want to look for little hints like that as to what's happening, right? Boom, boom. And you just see them over and over again, 930, 930. I mean, obviously it's not going to be 100%, nothing is, but you want to pay attention to this. You want to pay attention to the fact that this was an hourly flag break. And then on top of this, yes, you came down at the end of the day, but you didn't even take out that low. I mean, that makes it a very easy trade tomorrow. So, for those that are looking at this, even at the end of the day, it looked like it was going to, going to do okay, but it's kind of sold off at the end of the day here. We had a flag, then we had another flag, then we were making another one, and then people just wanted to get out. But don't rule this out if you see this make that move tomorrow and get over that 21 day. I would start looking for stocks that are over the 21 day. A matter of fact, you might want to make a note of that when the SPY's not. And we're going to get into the indexes in a minute, but we just have a lot to go through. So into it. Excellent earnings report, closed at 449.56. After hours, you're at 468.50. Now, if we take a quick snapshot as to why, $1.10 versus 98 cents, 2.4 versus 2.34 billion on the revenue side. They came out and they're looking for $1.14 to $1.20 versus 186 on sales growth. But what was more important, I believe, was just what they were looking at on the sales side, the fact that they upped their sales numbers. And so that's being perceived as extremely positive. That seems to be the driving force behind it. Some of the comments that are already coming out as this conference call unfolds, we're more confident than ever. I mean, that's the kind of talk you want to hear right now. They're the kinds of names you want to be focused on, and they're the kinds of names you want to look at tomorrow. Where do we go from here? That's a pretty amazing reversal. So you're going to just have to watch that and watch how you get to that level, that 490.83 level. The other one that came out yesterday, and this is what we're seeing. Good names are being rewarded. Got over that 537. Open was the low. I mean, that doesn't really get any clearer. Yeah, there you are. That was pre and post, just so you know the difference. So from when you opened at 4 o'clock this morning, that was the low. If you look at the regular day trading, you're right in there. Okay. So I like this. What I wasn't crazy about was just at the end of the day, you had a real tough time with 570. Look, if you're up 12% on the day in this kind of market, it's really hard to, argue. I'd look for some kind of higher high or basing before pushing higher. People are going to want to own Palo Alto Networks. This is not going to go away. We covered this yesterday. I would just focus on these kinds of names. I would also just focus on the larger cap names and how they're acting. Apple we went over the other day. Again, the line that you have in here that you're looking at, this is the 21-day moving average. And you can see how you got to the top of this level, came all the way back down to here. Right to that 21. You have this doji sitting there. It makes your decision process very easy when you have a bar like that near a trend line like this. So I would be focused on these kinds of names tomorrow and how we're acting. People came in and they were waiting for the entire market to absolutely collapse. And it's one of the things we said yesterday, on the call, that I just don't see it. And pretty much we went sideways. Now, do we go sideways until Friday when you have Powell speak at Jackson Hole? I don't know. I have no idea. Do you sell off more and people just get out of the way? We really don't know. The only thing that I could point to you is this. This is what I'm focused on. So I know where my level is right here on the Qs, right? And we can see this right here. You can see how you're oversold and how this actually extended out a little bit. So you can see that. I'll highlight that a little bit more right down here. There we go. So you can see here that this usually takes about 3 days to start working its way off. You have not been on a level of this level RSI for a period of time. I believe it goes all the way out to mid-June before the last rally started, and you were about 3 days out on that. I mean, that ties pretty clearly in with Powell. I can't imagine Powell's going to be very bearish, just from if you look at his last talk, but you just never know. But maybe that's what they're waiting for. So before we get into the index in greater detail, I want to go over the sectors that I really think people should be focusing on. So energy's just been setting up perfectly, and today we just absolutely broke out. And you're seeing this throughout all the big names. So I would not sleep on this. We actually went over this, I believe, on Saturday in the top 10. You don't want to sleep on these names. So, people are not really understanding the problems that are going on in Europe because most of us in the US are like very, very self-absorbed, to say the least. So we don't really pay attention, but there's a lot going on there, and there's huge demand issues that are going on, and they don't have the supply that we have over here. They obviously have issues with the sanctions. Watch names like Arch. Okay, all these coal names still look great. Yeah, you're getting a little bit of Wick City, but not really. You're still staying over key levels on those names. I'll go through a couple that you probably really need to look at. But I really want you to focus on like the big coal names. I think they're important. This can easily go back to the highs. I mean, I don't know if people want to hear it or not, but I'm just going to tell you that if you're not looking at energy, you're probably missing the sector that probably has the largest move going into September 30th. That's my sense of it. You might get some kind of semi-bounce, that might move you up, but not sustained buying that I think over the next 30 days that you're going to see here. Now you're in this whole gap, and I want to point this out before we go any further so you understand where I'm going with this. Okay, now you're over. So, and what are you over? This is volume by price here. So all this supply, okay, it's all gone. It's all been eaten up. Now you're getting into where the moves in these kinds of names. This was one that we were playing in the trading room today. So this is very clear. I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than that. We were looking for that 160 level, bonk, it went. Look at this on the weekly. Look how perfect this chart is. Like, that's just insane how perfect that is. You had 4 weeks, right? Like of just inside, 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 and then boom. It doesn't get any cleaner. Like that could be in a textbook. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing all that volume is underneath you. So I would tell you to keep focusing on those kinds of names like Chevron. I don't see any reason why we're not heading back to these areas. You might have a little congestion in there, but these kinds of names, Exxon, I mean, once you start breaking through this, where's your supply, right? I mean, this is probably going to see the highs and probably take those highs out. You start flipping these highs, and just to put this in perspective, there are upper channels here that are huge. And again, I don't think people are fully grasping the concept of what's going on energy prices out there right now. So, the biggest winner that we have in the newsletter, and if you don't get a copy of the newsletter, there's a free version in the link below. Oxy, we got in at 66.20, but it moved so fast that day. I think I paid closer to 67 and change. Now, this is really important, okay? When you see news like this come out and they say, oh, Warren doesn't want to buy the company, he doesn't want controlling interest, okay, you need to be skeptical. Okay, why do you need to be skeptical? Because a man that's spending $20 billion to take an interest in a company wants to have a say in how the company's ran. He wants to control the dividend. He wants to control everything. So the idea that he's not going to take this private at some point to control it, to me is just delusional. So, and you could see the response to that. They used that day. I'm sure Warren and company used that day to take a position there, and see how that responded that day, right? So here we are again. Watch that 74 level. This acts great. I think this is going to go substantially higher. It's one we've been playing with for a while. But if you just kind of take a look at some of these things with these upper channels, I mean, this has room. This has a lot of room before you're even bumping your head up here at the 87 level. So keep an eye on that. Now let's get to the indexes. So we're going to have to really just zoom in here for a moment and focus on a couple key things. Number one, okay, you made a lower low. It's the first one that you made. That's irrefutable. Okay, there's really no way to say that it didn't happen. So we have to take that into account. Now, we have to take into account that we are below the 21, right? So that nothing here is going great, right? This is not going swimmingly, I think is how they say it. So here you are at 415.38. We must have watched this thing hit 412.50 all day today. Bonk, bonk, bonk. A little battle going on, right to the 21 and rejected, a lower low. That's not great either. Okay, so there's nothing ideal about this market at all, right? As much as I say we're oversold, there is nothing redeeming about this. You're on the 21. This held up the best, not taking out a lower low. I do like the dojis that are here because it gives us indecision. Indecision means that when you make that decision, it's pretty emphatic, right? And, vol, we came down, but then we kind of closed at this dragonfly. So I'll just point it to you this way. Nothing's been resolved here. Nothing's been resolved at all. So just look at those levels that I gave and take a look at those tomorrow. And I would continue to focus on energy. Everybody have a great evening and trade to win tomorrow. If you're interested, there's a preview right here for the trading community. Have a good night, everyone.